Welcome back. Last time I showed off one of the very few branching paths in the game. Today I'm going to actually show off the next bit. But first, cleaning out the trash a little bit more. Again, to recap, evil eyes, weak to piercing, and apparently at least susceptible to air affinity, if not actually outright vulnerable to it. And gargoyles are fairly agile, but mostly just limit themselves to a nuisance. He has fallen right into my trap. Invigorate to hedge my bets. Let them have their way. Unfortunately, a little bit too close dead angle into the wall. Whole bunch of good stuff here. Unfortunately, you've got a lot of garbage armor that needs to be cleaned out. This is a welcome find. Not so much on its own right now, but something that happens later will make that one of the my favorite weapons so far. Fortunately here I forgot that I altered to Demona gems, so I was kind of just whiffing on the evil eye. Then mistook us, what is it, Undini for Jinn, so started throwing water affinity spells at it, or water affinity gems and weapon attacks at it, so instead take my frustrations out of the skeleton. Unfortunately, one of the bad things, I mean, you can see hit points and magic points and things, but as long as there's nothing equipped, you can't tell the innate defenses of an enemy. I think at this point I realized, see, I actually needed the Jinn Amber rather than a Sylph something or whatever I ended up equipping. Again, Raging Ache does its job quite well. But, like a lot of things, only high risk or high rewards come with high risk. It is something that I do not suggest new players do, and I don't know, I can't believe that I'm actually doing it myself with some of these attacks that I do. This is where the two branching paths combine. It is a one-way path beyond there, so I am not going to go through there. This leads back to the other part of the Undercity, behind a locked door that I can't get through. But for map completion, that doesn't accomplish anything because I can't get 100%. I just went through there. Anyway, back into the city center. Got a new bow. I like bows. And despite the fact that I've never used them, I have a reason to have them. Forgot to use Windbreak on Grissom. I'm not going to forget the next couple times when it will be valuable. Finally got around to upgrading the Scramasax, my Rising Sun, to have 2 gems, even though I really still only use the Yoctis for the most part. That end, there's no undead for quite a while. And as you can see from the room title, this is the Rue Morgue. Literature fans may remember that one of the first detective stories, a short story, was from Edgar Allan Poe, Murders of the Rue Morgue, which ended up being a monkey or an ape or something, and not exactly the most prolific of works. Just the benefit of being first. That Poland is actually an upgrade despite being bronze. Or it will be once I combine it with some other stuff. You can see a cloudstone just hovering up ahead. Attempting to do just a simple move doesn't give you quite enough hang time. Instead, you need to push down that crate, knock out one of the wooden crates up there, grab that, and stack those two, one on top of the other. Got some new enemies here. These are orcs, basically the goblins' bigger cousins. These guys seem to usually favor two-handed weapons. It doesn't usually matter at all because they usually just get mauled before they can really do much damage anyway, but at least it's interesting, I suppose. Time to do some prep work. And Windbreak will finally get some use, I think. Maybe. Probably not. Despite having some pretty interesting, well, a skirt rather than parachute pants like the Fire Elemental, the Wind Elemental has a bitchin' turban. And that's really all he has going for him. Since I took out the Dark Elemental without any sort of handicap or leverage, I have absolutely no real difficulty with this guy. As you can see, despite missing the Windbreak reaction and actually going for offense rather than defense, his attacks are quite weak. I just absolutely don't see him as a threat at all, so I don't have any real problem chaining, even if he's quite evasive with anything after the first hit. Time to break out this old favorite. Didn't even heal unnecessarily. Didn't even heal at all. As you can see, we're roughly halfway through the game now. We can't explore everything in the first playthrough, so we've accomplished about half of the combat in the game, and probably more like a third or 3/8 of the plot. These slimes are surprisingly evasive for being just balls of mucus. Now up ahead is a very daunting area. I strongly suggest you have a crossbow. I'll explain why, not in this video, but the following one. Finally upgraded my Shamsir into a falchion. Very nice weapon, which I immediately defile with a horrible pun. it's not okay, but I confirmed it anyway. Also, I finally decided that I don't really want to fight phantoms and other things with a stick. So I upgrade to the Footman's Mace. Please accept this murder by death reference. I insist. If anybody enjoys Clue, you know, the Tim Curry movie and such, I don't believe I can really ever fail to suggest this movie enough. It's quite short, but it is a good old parody. And yes, that's why I was thinking upgrading with a Hagane and a bronze bit makes it all a lot better. That shield had I believe, a Silver and Undini gem. Nothing useful, but it's nothing I'm going to regret. Look at that time. I got 2.5 minutes to make it to the exit. The last time we did this, we had 2 rooms to get through, and I think 1, maybe 2 enemies to try and beat down. This is much larger, a lot more enemies, and I'm going to make it a lot more interesting than I would suggest on this playthrough, on somebody's first playthrough. I would suggest against going in here. Not so much because of the mimic and these gargoyle looking things, which are actually imps. These things are a lot nastier than gargoyles. Whereas gargoyles just acted like a nuisance and numbed you. These guys seem to be quite a bit faster, and the sling spells from a distance. So really I can only rely on cornering these guys. The other reason I would suggest against going in this room is because this chest, like the one in the Warrior's Rest, which I will suddenly remember, is locked with a chest key. So all I can do is, well, learn a Grimoire spell and waste a little bit of time. Again, it's not going to really do any good, but, well, just to get it off the books. Literally. On the plus side, these guys are susceptible to silence, which then forces them to, you know, swoop down and allow you to get some licks in. I can't remember if I mentioned it, but like numbness, well, numbness gets cancelled with a physical attack, silence will get cancelled by a magical attack. Not that your magical attacks are going to do too much damage to warrant doing so, but it is something to think about, that you want to apply your debuffs before you begin trying to keep them from doing something more damaging. Again, I cannot suggest this enough. Don't try this at home, children. I'm playing way too fast and way too loose with my risk. I have finally done what I suggested to do in the last video and begin applying restore magic points. Switched from the falchion to a rapier. Can't remember if I actually allowed one of these guys to get something off in the Sanctum or not, but as you can see, Acid Sneeze hurts a lot more, at least in the one-off category, than the Poison Slime's attack does. Obviously, being left alone with time, Poison will do damage in the long run. I should also mention the squad of 3 knights in the city center. One of them has a chance to drop a gnome gem, which boosts Earth Affinity. It would have done some good against the air elemental, but obviously you can see that it didn't do that. It wasn't a game breaker. We finally have a demonstration of an enemy triggering a trap, but as you can see, it's not a good source of damage. You can really only see it as a benefit of the fact that you don't have to worry about triggering one yourself. If you were so minded, if you took a right at this intersection, you'd be towards the end of this maze. But I'm going all out for some reason to grab some. There's 2 more chests that I can actually get. And this guy, speaking of the gnome gem, that weapon had one. And it's at this point where I'm just gonna have to take my licks. And it would take about almost a minute, well, actually more like a little bit over 30 seconds to deplete my risk. And if I were to do that, I would not be able to complete the lap that I've plotted out within the mines. Again, it doesn't do that good on the first playthrough, but at least it's proof that it can be done. Switched back to the falchion. Not that it really does any good because I can't hit. Forgot to mention this guy from the first room of this race bit. Orc leader. And I misspoke the last time when we had the first set of mine rooms that it was a goblin leader, not a goblin chieftain. I got this mixed up with Final Fantasy 13. Still functionally identical, just a stronger magic user, buffer, and things, even though they're usually seem to just favor brute force a little bit more than the goblins did. Take a little bit of time to reduce risk, but nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. And the main reason I'm just going for this is that I could just use the 10% of my damage chain to whittle them down, since obviously outright attacking is still possible, but obviously not something you can rely on. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Instead, go right for the chest. Very useless, but I'm going to take it anyway. And all he did was keep me from doing something that I wasn't going to do anyway. I was just going to turn right around and get out of this room. Imps are not worth it. A little bit of an interesting obstacle course. Instead of just straight jumps across, have to do a little bit of angular jumping. Surprisingly, despite having pretty high risk, this guy is quite slow, so I could actually still get a guaranteed hit on him. Pro tip, don't be like me. Don't do that. Guess what? Don't do this either. Or that. At least be aware that you can't kill yourself by doing this. That being said, those imps would be perfectly happy to finish the job if they had half the chance. An interesting fact, there is both a single-handed and a dual-handed footman's mace. Consider that your useless fact for the day. Now, if I was truly insane, I could possibly, very, very slightly, and highly unlikely, but I could possibly clear this out. But I wanted to show what the best that you really could hope for on a first playthrough, and that you could map out quite well the abandoned mines within the time limit, and then deal with it the next time around. It also, I guess, suppose it demonstrates what the penalty for failure is. The penalty to failure is taking more track. Oh wait, no, apparently not that one. If I really wanted to, I could let the clock run out on this room, and I would still achieve full map completion for the mines on the next run. I don't know why I decided to actually put any sort of thought into that. Theoretically, leather will be useful later. Much, 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 much later, but it's not worth tossing something at this time. I did briefly consider letting time run out here, but this guy is going to make things difficult if I do. Instead, I'll let the clock run out here. As you can see, this was the room that would be from that first and four-way intersection. And here's the penalty. Back to the tree room. Back to slimes. No hit point loss, so it's even less critical than fighting and dropping into a pit. But that was some pretty good progress for today. I'll see you next time.